Hi everyone, welcome. Rebecca Major and Stephanie Ford here from Moving to Canada with another hot topic in Canadian immigration. Today we're diving into spousal sponsorships. So yesterday, RCIC Niall Carey shared a post about the rise in fraudulent sponsorship applications or claims of that he's been seeing in recent months. So we thought that we would take 15 minutes to unpack what's going on around this. So we're going to cover what spousal sponsorship actually is, why more people may be choosing this as an option, and what happens if things go sideways, especially when fraud is suspected. So as always, this is not legal advice. It's an open conversation to help you explore your options if you're considering sponsorship as a pathway to permanent residence in Canada. So let's get stuck in. Steph, do you want to start by giving us a quick overview on what spousal sponsorship is?
Yeah, for sure. So spousal sponsorship is a Canadian immigration pathway that falls under the family class. It allows a Canadian citizen or permanent resident to sponsor their spouse or common law partner for permanent residence. We're not going to go too deep into the eligibility of sponsors today, but it is important to know at this point that you must be a Canadian permanent resident or citizen, and you need to meet a few basic requirements to be eligible for the family class. What's more relevant today is who can be sponsored. So you can sponsor your spouse, which is somebody that you're legally married to, or your common law partner, which is in Canada defined as someone you've lived with in a marriage-like relationship. It's called conjugal in the IRCC paperwork a lot of the time, but it just means a relationship that is similar to a marriage. So someone you've lived with in a marriage-like relationship for at least 12 continuous months, and the continuous part is quite important. So yeah, in plain terms, it's someone you've been living with full-time in a relationship like a marriage for at least a year. The key takeaway there is that you don't need to be legally married to sponsor, but you do need to prove that your lives are deeply interwoven, and that you're connected emotionally, financially, and socially. There are also options to sponsor your conjugal partner that you don't live with, but that's not what we're talking about today.
Okay, thanks for that, Steph. So there are some suggestions that more and more foreign nationals are exploring sponsorship route as common law partners. So we're just going to take a second to explore why that might be happening. We know that economic immigration landscape in Canada is pretty grim right now. There are hundreds of thousands of foreign nationals already in Canada, international students, postgraduate work permits, workers who are just constantly facing negativity when it comes to permanent residence. Most of the economic immigration pathways are closed to them or very competitive. The CRS score for the express entry system is through the roof. Draws are inconsistent, and category-based draws aren't working in everyone's favor. So they're obviously starting to feel like economic immigration is not going to work for them. They're at a dead end.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing a lot of chatter online just about the depths of despair that a lot of people in economic class are feeling. And yeah, with a lot of those economic options either exhausted, we have seen PMPs already reach their allocations, more than one, or they're just totally out of reach with extremely high CRS cutoffs. People are starting to look at what's left, and family sponsorship is one of those options. It's an alternate pathway to economic. It's not score-based the same way that the economic category is. And the immigration levels plan for 2026 set a target of, it's almost 100,000. I think the target was 94,500. I don't have the range. But yeah, we're expecting to see somewhere around the 100,000 mark for 2025 for the family class. So there is a fairly substantial allocation to that class. And I'm not really surprised to see people sort of looking into this as a valid option. I took a quick look at the Q1 admission stats, and we actually only saw 22,100 admissions in the family class in Q1 of 2025. So we're even tracking a little bit slowly in family class when it comes to who's actually being admitted, their applications process, and they become a permanent resident so far this year. But we can tell from an almost 3-year processing time that there's a backlog in the family class. There's a quick side note that another option in addition to the family class is to submit a refugee claim. If you've paid attention to sort of the immigration headlines, you've seen a huge influx of claims refugee claims in Canada. I think, I don't have the data in front of me, but I know that 2024 was a record-setting year in terms of the number of refugee claims Canada received. And I know that 2025 is tracking quite high as well. And as a result of that, the government has introduced some pretty controversial legislation that would really change the face of how refugee claims are processed in Canada. I won't get into that here, but just some foreshadowing for this discussion. You can find news articles about the application volumes, but the takeaway is that if there is sort of suspected fraud and increasing volumes in a certain class, the government does fairly quickly pay attention, and they're showing with what they're trying to do, at least at this point in the refugee class, that they are willing to make some changes to make sure that genuine applicants are able to get through. I guess all of that's to say what we're potentially going to see, and what Niall Carey pointed out in his post in the family class is fraudulent claims where people are going to say, well, I live with my friend, we get along, maybe we can say we're common law, but that they're not actually in that conjugal marriage-like relationship. They're roommates, not romantic partners.
And I think that's a really good point. And then we obviously also have those relationships that are entered into for convenience. So a relationship of convenience is defined as a relationship that are formed for the sole purpose of sponsoring individuals to get status in Canada. What I find interesting, and I think what is contributing to this potential rise, is the fact that IRCC define common law relationships based on 12 months of cohabitation, which sets a relatively low threshold to qualify for, like, at least on paper. And so people are saying they're seen as a hack to stay in Canada while other options dry up, because it is a relatively short period of time to have to live with someone before you qualify under this program.
I'm fairly sure I had a roommate for 12 months before I
but that's the thing, it's I mean, I'm from the UK, where like common law relationships doesn't really hold much weight, and 12 months again is a relatively short period of time for someone to prove again on paper that they have been in a relationship. And
so if you have heard that and had some idea peak in your head where you're like, okay, well, I've lived with somebody for 12 months, I do just want to point out that the problem with misrepresenting your relationship, whether you do it intentionally or not, it puts your case at risk, and it creates like system-wide issues. So we are already seeing really long processing times in the family class. I think it's right around 34 months outside Quebec and 38 months inside Quebec.
And I think that increased recently, which suggests there has been an influx of these types of or sponsorship applications in general.
As I said before, when we see these kinds of things start to happen, IRCC does start to apply more scrutiny across the board. It might even change. We might see changes to the application process to try and weed out applicants who aren't genuine. And the flow-on effect, if we just think of the greater good, is that it affects genuine couples as well. Their applications get held up. They're required to provide more proof. There's more back and forth. They're more stressed in an already stressful process. So in short, what we are trying to say here is that it's not a good idea to look at spousal sponsorship as a loophole. and using it in that way, like it slows down the system for everyone, including couples with real long-term relationships. And that's a pretty heartbreaking outcome.
And it's not just about delays. There are really serious consequences if ICC believe you've submitted a fraudulent application, or if you've entered into a relationship of convenience. So for the person being sponsored, that will be an application refusal. It could also very possibly lead to misrepresentation, which will have obviously future impacts on your ability to immigrate to Canada. They take it seriously, and ICC officers are trained to look for red flags, especially in sponsorship applications. And so with so many people obviously pushing the limits, scrutiny is only going to increase. And then as far as consequences are concerned for the sponsor, there are also risks if you are the sponsor undertaking a fraudulent application, which could result in criminal proceedings being brought against you. So there are very serious consequences to this that you should be aware of. But that's not to say that if you were in a committed relationship, so if you've been living together for 12 or more months, you are in a romantic relationship, conjugal relationship, this is a powerful and it is a very valid immigration pathway. So I myself was sponsored. My now husband sponsored me as a common law partner back in 2012. So I'm not saying that this is not an okay route. It's a legitimate route if you are in a legitimate relationship. But don't fake it. ICC will ask you for solid proof that you are in this relationship. They know what to look for. And again, unfortunately, as more and more people potentially exploit this program, even genuine applications will get caught in the increased checks and longer processing times. So to wrap things up, spousal sponsorship is still a legitimate and powerful immigration option, especially for those who have built a life together, with economic immigration programs becoming harder and harder. But you just want to make sure that you are legitimately claiming this.
Yeah, I think I do just want to grab onto one thing that you said there. If you ask or you are involved in something like this, the Canadian permanent resident or citizen that you are asking to get involved with this application process for you, they are committing a crime.
Yeah.
It is no joke. So yeah, if nothing else, just be aware that it is a criminally punishable thing that you are asking somebody to do. And that can have, your outcome might be that you get a misrep finding and you can't apply to Canadian immigration again for a number of years. Theirs might be that they have a criminal record.
Yeah.
So yeah.
An excellent point to hit home, because it is no joke.
So with this class being a legitimate pathway comes the responsibility of using it correctly. Just living with someone for 12 months, it doesn't make you common law. And trying to present a friendship or roommate situation as a marriage-like relationship for immigration, it's risky, it's unfair, and for your sponsoring party, it's a crime.
Yes, but we do totally understand that people are stressed, and that PR pathways are few and far between for many people. But in the long run, this would not be the best option for many people. So, if you think that, or if this topic has raised questions for you, you're kind of wondering whether you've made some bad decisions in applications, now's the time to rethink your approach and your strategy and how you're going to stay in Canada. That's the whole purpose of these little sessions that Steph and I do. We really just want to make sure that we're having, again, an open conversation, making sure that you're asking the right questions. If you do want to stay up to date on everything that's happening in Canadian immigration, from updates to notifications of these sessions that we're doing, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. We send out notifications of these types of events. So,
yeah, it's, in my not so unbiased opinion, the best way to get reliable and up-to-date information directly from Rebecca and myself a lot of the time, straight into your inbox. So whether it's changes in sponsorship processing, express entry, work permits, PR pathways, I think that's one of the better ways to do it.
Exactly. So thank you everyone for joining us, and keep an eye out for our next live, where we're going to be exploring some more hot topics. So until then, take care and good luck with everyone who is on their journey to Canadian immigration.
Yeah, definitely. Good luck.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.